On October 5, 2003, Timothy Treadwell and his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard, were attacked by a grizzly bear, and the entire attack was captured on camera. Both of their deaths were tragic. Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. Today, we're going to talk about the final moments of Timothy Treadwell's fatal attack by a grizzly bear. Before we get started with the video, don't forget to smash the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. Since they became the dominant species in the evolutionary chain and were only a few short links apart from animals, people have been attempting to show that they are not all that different from them, believe there is no essential difference between man and beast, and that, at our core, we are all essentially the same as other animals. There have been some who, in a world filled with animal anthropomorphism, have blurred the line between man and beast, and, as a result, have ended up acting as a cautionary tale for others. Roy Horn and Montcourt, the white tiger that attacked him while he was performing on stage Bruno Zender, who succumbed to hypothermia and died in Antarctica while attempting to live with penguins. Steve Irwin was working on a documentary about stingrays when one of the animals attacked him and killed him. None of these, however, come close to matching the magnitude of the impact that was caused by the passing of Timothy Treadwell, who spent his life and passed away among the wild grizzly bears in Alaska. Timothy Treadwell, who was renowned across the world as the Grizzly Man, was, first and foremost, a fan of bears. Because of his fascination with animals, he eventually became interested in environmentalism and documentary filmmaking. One of his films was on the grizzly bears that live in Alaska's Katmai National Park. Treadwell initially started spending his summers in Alaska in the late 1980s. He did this for a total of 13 consecutive summers on the Katmai coast, an area of Alaska that is well known for having a sizable population of grizzly bears. He would spend the beginning of the summers in Hallow Bay's Big Green, which is a grassy region on the island. Later on, he would proceed further south to Kaflia Bay, a region that was covered in heavy vegetation. Bears could easily be seen in Big Green since the grass was cut down to a low level, which made visibility excellent. Treadwell referred to it as the Grizzly Sanctuary due to the fact that it was the place where grizzlies gathered to relax and amble along the coast. It was easier to get up close and personal with the bears in the Kaflia Bay area, which featured thicker and more heavily wooded terrain. The location, which was full of intersecting grizzly tracks and was known as the Grizzly Maze, made it much simpler to conceal oneself in the woods. While Treadwell was camping, he would get extremely close to the bears and videotape their interactions on his video camera. He would then watch the footage afterwards. Some of the recordings showed him interacting with the bears, including petting them and playing with the cubs. Many people had the misconception that the Grizzly Man was always attentive to building a sense of trust and mutual respect, despite the fact that he asserted that this was always the case. Both park rangers and the National Park Service warned Treadwell that the consequences of his bond with the bears might be fatal. Not only were the bears big, weighing up to 1,000 pounds and standing higher than a man when they were standing on their hind legs, but they also believed that he was disrupting the natural order of the parks. They issued him a citation in 1998 for carrying food inside a tent, which is considered to be an attractant for bears, in addition to multiple additional offenses for engaging in prohibited camping practices. This occurred in 1998. As a result of his inability to comply with their previous rules, they instituted a brand new regulation that became known as the Treadwell Rule. It requires that all campers shift their campsites at least 1 mile every 5 days in order to prevent bears from becoming accustomed to the presence of humans and becoming aggressive as a result. Treadwell, on the other hand, persisted in camping near the bears and interacting with them. Despite the numerous warnings, his persistence in keeping in constant contact with them would eventually bring about his grisly and horrible demise, which would take place after a number of years. A bear enthusiast and his partner, Amy Huguenard, visited Katmai National Park in October 2003. They were close to Treadwell's former stomping grounds in the Grizzly Maze. In spite of the fact that it was well past the time when he would have normally packed up for the season, he made the decision to extend his stay in order to find a particular female bear who was a favorite of his. About this time, friends and family believed he had withdrawn from the modern world, and even Treadwell admitted he felt far more comfortable in nature with the bears than he ever did with humans. Friends and family say he did this about this time. He was acting in an increasingly irresponsible manner. Even though he was aware that October was the time of year when bears began putting away food for the winter, gaining weight in preparation for hibernation, and becoming more aggressive, he continued to camp in areas where bears traveled. This was an exceptionally risky situation, considering that visitors to the park are not permitted to bring firearms, and Treadwell did not have any bear spray on him. Treadwell and Huguenard used a satellite phone to get in touch with a co-worker who was located in Malibu on the afternoon of October 5th. Both campers were found to have been killed by a bear, and their bodies had been torn apart just one day later, on October 6, 2003. When their air taxi pilot arrived at their campground to pick them up, he discovered the bodies of Timothy Treadwell and Amy Huguenard. The pilot was on his way to pick them up. At first glance, it appeared that no one was staying at the campsite. The pilot then became aware of the bear, which appeared to be monitoring the area as if it were his prey. The pilot of the air taxi notified park rangers immediately, and they came to the scene and scoured the area. They were able to locate the couple's remains relatively quickly. A short distance away from the camp, the mutilated remains of Treadwell's skull, together with part of his spine, his right forearm and his right hand were found. His wristwatch remained fastened to his arm and continued to tick despite being removed. Next to the damaged tents, the skeletal remains of Amy Huguenard were discovered partially buried beneath a mound made of branches and mud. Because the bear attempted to assault the park rangers while they were trying to recover the remains, they were obliged to kill the bear. When it charged the retrieval team, the bear also claimed the life of another younger animal. The rangers' worst fears were realized when a necropsy performed on the larger bear found human body parts in the animal's stomach. The bear's Timothy Treadwell had come to adore had devoured him and his girlfriend. This is the first death that is known to have been caused by a bear in the park's 85-year history. The most terrible aspect of the scene, however, wasn't found until after the bodies had been shifted around. Rangers went through the couple's things and inspected their tent as the remains were being transported to the mortuary. A video camera with a tape that was only 6 minutes long was found inside one of the shredded tents. At first glance, it seemed as though the cassette was empty because there was no video on it. On the other hand, the tape was not empty. Despite the fact that the video was difficult to see, the sound quality was excellent. 6 excruciating minutes of Huguenot and Treadwell's lives were documented on camera, including the sound of their screams as a bear tore them apart. During this time, the camera was held by Huguenot. The audio indicates that the tape was switched on just a few moments before the incident, and that Treadwell was the one who was attacked initially, while Amy Huguenot sought to defend herself against the bear. The recording concludes with Huguenot wailing in agony as she is being put to death. After 6 minutes, the audio was cut off when the cassette ran out, but those 6 minutes were traumatic enough to stand on their own. After the Rangers had obtained it, they refused to give it to anybody else and kept it hidden from the general public, in spite of the efforts of a number of filmmakers to acquire it for their projects. Those who have been exposed to it claim that it leaves a terrifying imprint on their minds. That's a wrap on the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know by giving it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.